into, we are going into Dear Mr Kilmer. Okay, we have not done Mr Kilmer, so I'm very worried because we have not looked at it at all. And I'm sure everybody is worried as well, correct? Because we need to go through it, we have to start somewhere. And if you look at, I'm sure everybody must have watched this video, right? Okay, I want everybody to look at this video because
no one knew, not even in
all right. Because when I watched this video, this is the closest. This is the closest to your text.
where they were hiding.
All right.
Signal to reach it.
So you, in fact, it is very good for you. It's very good because for those who have not read the book, and then you watch this video, you get a better idea what is it about. Because when you read the text, it could be difficult. Some of you do not understand. So if you don't know or you're unsure, go back to this video. Go back to this video and watch it. All right, it would be very good for you to go back to this video, save it somewhere, or then or save the link so that you know where to go to every time you want to check on your Dear Mr Kilmer. All right, okay, and let's go to the first part, shall we? Where are we? No. Okay. All right. Let's look at my slide. Okay, we go to the first slide. Okay, the first slide that I have here, it's on the first part where this event is a problem fitting in. Okay, take note that problem fitting in, it actually goes back to Richard. All right, Richard, because Richard feels out and like he's an outcast. He doesn't belong in the family. You have to understand that Richard has got different physics compared to his brother and his father. And everybody else go hunting, including the grandfather, the pa, as well as Gus. And who is Gus? Can anybody just type for me a message? Who is Gus? Somebody? I'm waiting. I'm looking at the chat now. Who is Gus? Can somebody tell me? Just type at the chat. We're going to look at it together. That's why it's on the screen. Yes, very good. Richard's brother, correct. Richard's brother is Gus. Gus have got different physics compared to Richard. Richard is very small, very fair, more like Ma. Okay, remember Richard's mother has passed away. Gus and Pa looks about the same physics, okay, and they love hunting. And if you look at this, Richard didn't like to kill the buck because he hates violence. In the very first chapter, Richard did not kill the buck. He purposely missed the buck because he doesn't want to kill the buck. He doesn't like to kill animals or any other living things. And if you see that, Gus advised him to fit in as in becoming like, hold on, yeah, I think there are some people who are trying to join. Okay. The reason is like this. Everybody else in his family, in Richard's family, they hunt except for Richard. And Richard doesn't like hunting. It starts, he doesn't like it. In fact, he wrote his very first poem after his grandfather killed a deer at the age of when he was 8 years old. So immediately after he comes back home, he writes a poem. That was one of his first poem, where he writes a poem that he doesn't like hunting. Okay, we will look into the poem later. And if you see the notes here, it shows that Richard has different belief and principle regarding life. So he doesn't feel belong in the family because everybody believes differently than him. But Richard has his own saying, his own principle. Okay, and if you look at this, Hannah was bullied. Okay, here, two people are having problem fitting in the society. One, Richard, because he feels that he is strange compared to other people. And then, in fact, he also feels different in his own family. And then Hannah, okay, we've got Hannah here. Hannah Shermers, okay? Hannah Shermers was being bullied in school. She was bullied in school when I cannot say everybody, the students, her classmates, scribbled dirty hand on her book. Okay, so here Abner, Harry, and Blanche badmouth Hannah because she is a German American. So you have to understand that if you look at what is Hannah going through, she is like an outcast. Okay, she doesn't feel belong because everybody discriminates her because she is a German American. Take note, her parents are German, but she's born in America. Okay, and look at this. The next one, we go to sign the sympathy card. Okay, can somebody tell me who has read the book? Can somebody please tell me where is the event of the sympathy card? Where is the event on sympathy card? Which chapter is it? Can somebody just tell me which chapter is the sympathy card? Which chapter is the sympathy card? Can somebody help me? Can you see me now? Chapter 2, classroom, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yes, chapter 2. All right. You see the sympathy card in chapter 2. Okay. If you look at this, sympathy card is when people have scribbled words dirty hand on Hannah's book. And then you see that Mrs. Hanson wanted her students to sign a card to show sympathy for the Shermers. What happened to the Shermers? First, you go back to what happened to the Shermers. Please take note that what happened to the Shermers was their tavern was scribbled. They were vandalized by some people in Turtle Lake. Okay? And when the tavern was vandalized, so Mrs. Hanson felt sorry for them. So she bought a card. Who bought the card? Remember, the one who bought the card is Mrs. Hanson. Mrs. Hanson bought the card and she gave it to everybody in the class. When she gave it to everyone in the class, most of the students in the class refused to sign the card because the card was for Hannah and her family. Right? There was only one person who signed the card. Anybody knows who signed the card? Can somebody just type for me who signed the card? Very good. Yes, Richard. Richard signed the card. Richard was the only one who signed the card. If you look at this particular event shows how brave Richard is because everyone else in the class do not want to sign the card because they are afraid they will get bullied by Abner and Harry. Abner and Harry are the class bullies. All right. So Richard was the only one who thinks that everybody is prejudiced. They discriminate Hannah and the Shermans. So Richard was the only one who believes that it is not right to do like that. So he signed the card. And if you look at the notes here, shows that Turtle Lake children are prejudiced towards German. Why are they prejudiced towards German? Can somebody just type? Why do you think the people of Turtle Lake are prejudiced towards German, including the children? Why do you think that happens in Turtle Lake? Why do you think that happens? Why are they prejudiced towards Hannah and her family at this point of time, in this setting? Why do you think the people in Turtle Lake, including the children, are prejudiced towards Hannah and her family? Why? Anybody? Nobody wants to try? You're not sure, is it? Because there's a war between German. Very good. That's the reason why. If there is no war, I believe, in fact, I think that the people of Turtle Lake wouldn't be so prejudiced towards Hannah and her family. So Richard doesn't believe that. Thinks that it's not right for everyone else to be prejudiced towards Hannah and her family. So that's why Richard signed the card. And look at this. Signing the card to the Shermers, Richard offered to help Mrs. Hanson to deliver the card to the Shermers. And Abner and Harry tried to stop Richard, but they were subdued by him. Okay, Abner and Harry, please remember, they are the bullies. They are the class bullies. And they always bully Richard, thinking that Richard is also like a bit strange or weird. But Richard is a person who has strong belief, very good principle. And here Richard shows that he is physically strong even though Abner called him a sissy. Okay, Richard, I would say that if I were to read this book again, the Dear Mr Kilmer, Richard is one of the character to me is somebody whom I can admire very much. I have not met any students who's like Richard, and I wish all students, anybody who reads Dear Mr. Kilmer, would take Richard as an idol because Richard has got very good principle. He stick to what he believes in. He's brave, and he is wise enough, and he's confident enough to stand in what he thinks. Okay, hold on. Let me just get somebody in. Okay. All right. So here, you see that Richard he gave a good fight to Abner and Harry, and he won. And finally, he managed to send the card to Hannah. And look at the next one in this column. Richard and Hannah became friends. Okay. Later, Hannah apologized to Richard for being rude to him. Hannah did not want to accept the card. Please remember, Hannah does not want to accept the card initially because to Hannah, Richard is the same as everybody else in Turtle Lake. Okay, Richard persuaded her to accept the card, and Richard finally managed to let Hannah believe, even though reluctantly at first, and Hannah accepted the card. Okay, Hannah wondered why people do bad things. Because Hannah is a nice person. She's a nice girl. In fact, she's bright, she's intelligent, she's a nice person. And Richard explains it is because people are scared. Okay, you see how Richard actually explains to Hannah? He is trying to rationalize with Hannah, saying that not everybody in Turtle Lake is bad. And people are scared. That's why people tend to treat other people unwisely. Okay, other kids in their class did not sign the card because they are afraid. They are scared and afraid because it is also because Abner and Harry are the class bullies. Okay, Abner and Harry are the class bullies. Okay, so you see the first slide that we have, the first one that we have, problem fitting. Who has a problem fitting? Richard, because he's in dilemma between hunting versus poetry. He doesn't like hunting when everyone in the family wants him to go hunting, and he likes poetry when everybody else doesn't accept him to like poetry. So problem fitting one is Richard. Okay, remember, yeah, hunting versus poetry, and the next one is Hannah. Hannah is having problem fitting because people in Turtle Lake treat her family badly. Okay, so two people are having problem now, Richard and Hannah. Okay, that's in chapter 1. And if you look, sign sympathy card, it all started off why did Mrs. Let me try to recall. Why did Mrs. Hanson bought the card for the children to sign? Why did Mrs. Hanson buy the sympathy card for the children to sign? Why? I explained earlier on. Why did the why did Mrs. Hanson bought the card for the children, for the students to sign? Why? What triggers Mrs. Hanson to buy the card? Somebody please just type in the chat box. Very good, to show their sympathy towards the Shermer's family. Correct, very good, Ika. Yes, to actually show sympathy, to say sorry for what they did to the Shermer's tavern. Okay, and then who sent the card to the Shermers? It's already here. Who sent the card? Yes, Richard. Richard was the one who offered to send the card. Yes, very good. Nurin, Christina, and also Faiz Kacha. Good. And then you have Hannah and Richard became friends. Okay. Initially, Hannah doesn't want to be friends with anybody. But because Richard was very kind, so they became friends. Okay, let's look at this. Next one. The next slide is on the first correspondence. What is the meaning of first correspondence? First correspondence is when the first time Richard write a letter to Mr. Kilmer. Okay, take note. The first time Richard write a letter to Mr. Kilmer. Okay, this is how it started. Listen, yeah. Their teacher, Mrs. Hanson, read Mr. Kilmer's poem to the class. Okay, Mrs. Hanson read Mr. Kilmer's poem to the class. And the poem's title is The Tree. Trees. Look at this. I'm showing you. This is the poem. It's very small. I will show you a bigger version. Be patient. Okay. If you look at this, Mrs. Hanson read Mr. Kilmer's poem to the class. And the poem is actually, okay, where am I? It's, okay. And the poem is actually, the title is Trees. So Abner said when Mrs. Kilmer, when Mrs. Hanson read the poem, Abner said poems and poets are CC stuff. So what do you think Richard feels when Richard heard this from Abner? Abner is the class bully. So, and Richard likes poems. So when Abner says poems and poets are CC stuff, how do you think Richard feels? Mad. Okay, besides being mad, very good. Haras, besides being mad, angry, sad, correct, very good. If I were to be Richard, I will feel very scared and sad because I love poem. Okay, and here Mrs. Hanson explains that Mr. Kilmer is brave as he volunteered to fight for the country. Who is Mr. Kilmer? Who is Mr. Kilmer? Mr. Kilmer is, Mr. Joyce Kilmer is a famous poet. Okay, he writes poem. But he wants to fight for the country. So he volunteered. Look at this, yeah. He is brave and he volunteered to fight for the country. Take note. A poet who likes to write poem volunteered himself to actually fight for the country. That is very admirable, correct? Very admirable. And this, because of this, you look for Richard who likes poem, there is similarity between Richard and Mr. Kilmer. Both of them love poems. And when Mr. Kilmer volunteered to fight for the country, that inspires Richard. It inspires Richard to write a letter to Mr. Joyce Kilmer and to know more about Mr. Joyce Kilmer. Okay, so he wrote the poem. He wrote the letter to Mr. Kilmer. When he wrote the letter to Mr. Kilmer, he took the book. When Mrs. Hanson finished reading the poem, Richard asked for the book from Mrs. Hanson because Richard wants to know the address and Richard wants to know more about Mr. Kilmer. Okay, and thus, that particular night, Richard wrote a letter to Mr. Kilmer telling about his passion in poetry writing, even write about his poem, and even write about him being scared. He was scared to share about his passion with everybody else because Richard doesn't want other people to think that he is strange. Okay, so these are the things that Richard shared in his letter. Okay, look at this. Richard received letter from Mr. Kilmer. Richard asked Mr. Kilmer's advice. Okay, that night, remember I told you, he added a few things about himself. So Mr. Kilmer replied. Mr. Kilmer advised about sharing his poem for his love for poetry with others. And Mr. Kilmer encouraged Richard to write and share his poems with others. Do you think it is easy for Richard to share his poem with others? If you were Richard, I want to ask you, if you were Richard, how would you feel about trying to share your passion where people do not understand with other people? How do you think Richard would feel? If you were Richard, how would you feel if you were to try? Scared, very good. Scared. I would be scared as well. Any other people? Any other response? Upset. Why do you think upset, Surya? Why do you think you feel upset? You feel. You will be feeling scared at first. Okay. Because you don't know whether people can accept you for what you are. And writing poem is not something that other people do. Okay, it's not something very common. It's not common among people. So that's why Richard was interested in Mr. Kilmer because he shares the same poem. He doesn't have self-confidence. Yes, correct. Richard doesn't have self-confidence. Okay, that's why he would feel scared, disappointed. Maybe I can say, Ika, you may be correct when you say disappointed because disappointed because nobody supports, nobody around you supports for what you like. So you feel a bit disappointed and thus you feel upset, right, Surya? You feel upset because nobody is there for you. Nobody shares what you like. Okay, so Richard now has the confidence to share his poetry with others. Okay, after receiving the letter, true enough, after receiving the letter from Mr. Kilmer, Richard feels a bit brave in sharing with somebody. Okay, he tried sharing with his family, but it's not that encouraging. Okay, let's go to the poem. Okay, everybody look at the poem. I'm sure everybody can read this, right? Okay, take note. This is the poem by Mr. Kilmer. Let me just recite a little bit for you. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree, and a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast. A tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. A tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair. A pond whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Okay, here is Mr. Joyce Kilmer's poem. And let's look at Richard's first poem. This poem, okay, everybody take note. Look, it's just about 4 lines here in one stanza. This is a poem written by Richard on that night after his grandfather killed a deer. Okay, this is how he feels. My crayons made it white and brown. Nature made it shy. God made it fleet of foot, but Grandpa made it die. Okay, so my crayons made it white and brown. What is white and brown? What is the it? What is the it which is white and brown? Can somebody respond to me? What is the it that is white and brown? Anybody? Nobody? What is the it? Can somebody guess? I just told you what's the animal. My crayons made it white and brown. Yes, it's a deer. Good, it's a deer. So the grandfather, yes, correct. Azri is a deer. That's a question. Yes, it's a deer. My crayons made it white and brown. Nature made it shy. You see, deers are not animals that are friendly. They are very shy animal. Okay, God made it fleet of foot. Okay, they can jump very easy. They're very agile. but grandpa made it die. So you see, Richard doesn't like hunting, so he doesn't like when the grandpa killed that deer, that particular deer that he saw. So that's, you see, when you see what are the similarities between these two poems, the poems 3 as well as Richard's poem that is the one that he wrote. What are the similarities between these two poems? Can you just respond to me? Anybody? What are the similarities between the poem Trees as well as Richard's poem? There's 4-line poems. What can you see are the similarities? Anyone? It's about nature. Very good. Talk about nature. Yes, nature. Besides nature? Good, good. It is about nature. Correct. That's the utmost similarity that they have. Both of them love nature. And what kind of people are there? What kind of people are they? Richard Knight as well as Mr. Joyce Kilmer. What kind of a person do you see in them? Religious, besides religious, okay, I see religious. Huda answered, talk about nature. Surya also talk about nature. Ika said nature. Huda, religious. What else about these two people? How about the boys? I don't see the boys. Are you not responding, boys? Don't be scared. Where are my boys? It's only Azri, the latest one. Okay, what are the similarities you see? Come on. Just try, just give it a go and see. Anyone? Humanity. Okay, good. Humanity. Besides humanity, what kind of a person are they? Lovely. Nature lover. Lovely. Yes. Faiz. Lovely. Nature lover. Correct. Aren't they caring people? Aren't they loving people? Very compassionate. Okay. They are very compassionate. Okay. They are very loving and caring. Take note. Okay, these are the characteristics of Richard Knight as well as Mr. Joyce Kilmer. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, now remember when Mr. Joyce Kilmer supported, encouraged Richard to share his poem with other people. So here, this is where Richard start to share his poems with his family. And look at this, yeah. Pa and Angie were indifferent. Okay, they did not respond that well to Richard, and Gus felt disgusted. He called poetry as sissy stuff. And when Gus said that it is sissy stuff, it's just for Richard is something very sad. Even Pa was not interested to listen to Richard's poem. Okay, during dinner, what happened was Richard asked Angie to read the poem and talk about poem writing. But nobody in the family, listen, yeah, nobody in the family supported Richard. So at that point of time, Richard felt very sad. He felt very disappointed. He felt very sad because nobody encouraged him. Okay, and Gus warned Richard not to let others know he writes poem because people already called him Han lover. Okay, why is this Han lover? Anybody who has read the poem, the story? the short story. Why do you think people are calling Richard the Han lover? Anybody can respond to the word Han lover? What is the meaning of the Han lover there? You cannot remember, or hello? Gus actually tell Richard not to let others know that he writes poem because everybody is calling him a Han lover. Why do you think is the Han lover? Hello? Richard was called the Han lover because Richard was being friends with, who is the person? Richard was being friends with? Who was being, yes, very good, Hannah Schemers. Yes, Hannah Schemers. Hannah is a German. They call Hannah a Han. Okay, so that's why they call Richard Han lover. Sharing his poem with Mrs. Hanson. Now, first step is Richard shared his poem with the family and they did not respond. They were not encouraging, so Richard felt very sad and very disappointed. Take note, Richard was not happy. He was sad. He doesn't get any encouragement from the family. And let me remind you that family support is very important in any family. So here, Richard doesn't get any support from his own family. First, he felt disowned. He doesn't feel belong in the family because everybody likes hunting and he doesn't like hunting. Everybody was well built, big in physics, whereas he's very small. And he's not like his brother Gus. Okay, so if you look at this, excuse me. Okay, if you look at this, when he goes to his family and shared about his poem, okay, and nobody encourages him, so here he doesn't get the support from his family. Okay, doesn't get any support from his family. Okay, look at the next one. Sharing his poem with Mrs. Hanson. Mrs. Hanson was proud of Richard and helped Richard choose a poem. Again, excuse me. I don't know who's hi. Aiman Sham, welcome to the group. Hi, welcome to. Okay, sharing his poem with Mrs. Hanson. Mrs. Hanson was proud of Richard and helped Richard to choose a poem to send to Mr. Kilmer. Okay, Richard has written a lot of poem. Okay, it's all in secret. It's all in his drawer. So when Mrs. Hanson asked him to choose a poem, Richard brought all the poem and then they choose one poem. Remember, the title of the poem that is to be shared with Mr. Kilmer is Thunderstorm. Okay, the poem is Thunderstorm. That's what Richard will share with Mr. Kilmer. She wanted Richard to share his poems and Mr. Kilmer's letters in the class. And here, Richard is very lucky because even though he did not get support from the family, but he got support from Mrs. Hanson. He got the support from Mrs. Hanson and he got the support from Hannah. Hannah helped Richard in better his poem, making his poem better. Okay, so you see, one, he doesn't get support from his family, which was very disappointing for Richard, but Richard got the support from Mrs. Hanson, okay, his English teacher, and support from Hannah. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, Richard shared his poem and letters. Okay, Richard read the poem he sent to Mr. Kilmer and the latest letter received from him. Okay, and Hannah helped improve a poem Richard wanted to send to Mr. Kilmer. Remember, the poem is, what is the title of the poem that they chose? Who had listened to me? Thunderstorm, very good. Thunderstorm is the name of the poem. So some students began to show respect. Yes, thank you, Madhuri. Correct. It is Thunderstorm. Faiz, yes, Thunderstorm. Some students began to show respect to Richard. Because sorry, bukan dia. Because they, was amazed that Richard actually wrote the letter to Mr. Kilmer. And Mr. Kilmer replied. Remember, Kilmer is a famous poet, and at first nobody wants to know about poem, but because Richard wrote a letter to Mr. Kilmer replied the letter. So some of the students in the class began to show respect to Richard because Richard was brave. Wait, listen to the word. Richard was brave to write a letter to Mr. Kilmer. Okay, excuse me, it's already all right. So, and then you see that here when Richard shared his poem with everybody else, as encouraged by Mr. Kilmer, he listened to Mr. Kilmer's advice. So he is sharing it with everybody else. And people respond to him in a different way, which is good. Okay, now you go to the next one. What is Han? Mr. Higby. Okay, just now remember the Han lover. Mr. Higby, who is Mr. Higby? Mr. Higby is their history teacher. Mr. Higby told the students that American troops were arriving in France, and he explained the correct usage of Hans. Hans is not German. Hans is not German. Hans is the meaning of nomadic people. Okay, people who move from one place to another. So these students, they got the wrong meaning of the word Hans. Shows that people in Turtle Lake misunderstood the word Hans. Okay, and the word Hans is not German. Okay, it's about nomadic people. All right, we go to the next event. Here, when you go to the next event is Richard helped Pa at the farm. All right, everybody take note that Richard doesn't like hunting, but Richard likes farming. Okay, besides writing poem, Richard likes farming. And if you look at this, during the summer holiday, Richard helped Pa at the farm. So Richard loved school, but Richard also loved farming. So that's why Richard is very diligent, very hardworking at the farm. So Richard spent a lot of time helping Pa at the farm. They spent the entire days together, but there was a strange barrier between them. Okay, it's very funny between Pa and Richard. Pa and Richard are always there at the farm, but Pa is a very close person. He doesn't talk or he's not that friendly compared to Gus. Pa is more reserved. So Richard and Pa has a gap between them. So that's why it adds on to why Richard feels not belong in the family. Okay, because Pa and Richard has got that gap between the two of them. Okay, the reason why, okay, let me tell you the reason why. One reason why is because Pa is very sad ever since Ma passed away, Richard's mother passed away. Another one is Pa is also sad, even more sad, when his own brother died in the war. Okay, when his own brother died in the war. So when the two people that he loves very much died, so Pa feels very down. So that's the reason why Pa was very reserved, even though to Richard. Okay, and here the note here is it shows that Richard is hardworking and shows that Pa is reserved and distant. Okay, let's go to the next one, shall we? Moving on, yeah, to the next one. Okay, here we have Liberty Bonds incident. Okay, what is Liberty Bonds incident? With the Liberty Bonds incident is where, okay, in school, listen, yeah, in school, they want to finance the war. Okay, Mrs. Hanson is holding a program, which is a patriotic program, where they want to sell the Liberty Bond. Everybody take note. They will help to sell the Liberty Bonds to finance the war. Okay, to help sell Liberty bonds to finance the war. They don't have money for the war, so they want to sell, they want to help to fund the war. The school is trying to sell the Liberty bonds. Okay, and Mrs. Hanson said that there will be an essay writing competition. Okay, take note. There is an essay writing contest. Why? To choose from when the Lady Liberty, to choose one person, the girl, to become the Lady Liberty, and a boy to become the doughboy. Okay, the first girl to get the best essay will be Lady Liberty, and the boy with the best essay will be the doughboy, not the lady boy, the doughboy. Sorry. Okay, so here when she had the essay writing contest, everybody write in their essays. They submitted in their essays. So Richard won the doughboy role. Okay, Richard won the doughboy role. Richard suggested to write to young American soldiers to show respect. So Richard won the doughboy, and most of the students clapped, but some were disappointed because Richard won. You know, Richard is not their favorite boy, so that's why some were disappointed. Richard won the doughboy, and Hannah, look at this. Hannah won Liberty Lady role. Okay, Liberty Lady role. So if you look at the Lady Liberty role, in her essay, Hannah talked about making peace. Hannah is very bright. I told you earlier, Hannah is very bright. So she said that the real enemy is war itself. So she said that everybody must not be prejudiced and hatred on other people, and learn to accept others regardless of caste, creed, and color. Okay, so this was the content of Hannah's writing. So here, to show that discrimination and prejudice is widespread in Tertelek. People in Tertelek are prejudiced and discriminate other people. So for example here, Abner, Harry and Peggy disliked her, and nobody clapped except Richard. When Hannah won the Lady Liberty role, nobody clapped except Richard. But when Richard won the doughboy, some people clapped, some people were disappointed. So this is a picture of, this is the doughboy. Okay, a doughboy would be wearing this uniform, army uniform. And then the person who wins the Lady Liberty will be dressed up like this. Okay, so these two. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right. So here, okay, to me, okay, I like this event very much. I like this event of Liberty Bond event. Why? You see that if you look at this chapter, when people complain, people come, some parents come to the office, met the principal, and then they actually decline. They want the principal to reject Hannah from becoming Lady Liberty. And so some parents complained to the principal. Hannah decided to decline the role. You see how Hannah is? Hannah is a very mature person. So Hannah declined the role of Lady Liberty. And here it shows that Hannah is a considerate person. Okay. And Richard is thoughtful and kind. Okay. Richard also declined his role to show his support to Hannah. Okay. First, essay writing competition. Everybody follow me. Yeah. Is everybody with me? Okay. Listen. First and foremost, they want to find the fund to support the war. Okay. So Mrs. Hanson started an essay writing competition, so that the girl to win the best essay gets to be Lady Liberty. The boy who gets the best essay becomes the doughboy. So these two people are going to dress up, one as Lady Liberty, another one dressed up to be dressed up as the doughboy, and they are going to sell the Liberty bonds. When they sell the Liberty bonds, the money they get is to be funded for the war. Okay? So if you look at this, Hannah won the best essay, so she was supposed to be Lady Liberty. Richard won the best essay, and Richard was supposed to be the doughboy. But because people complained, some parents complained to the principal, so Hannah decided to decline the role. She doesn't want to take the role of Lady Liberty because she doesn't want to create any more war in Tertelek. As a friend, Richard, to support Hannah, Richard declined his role as the doughboy as well. Okay, so Richard declined the role as the doughboy as well. And when Mrs. Hanson asked why did Richard decline the role, Richard said it was just the right thing to do. Okay, Richard told Pa, in fact, Richard told Pa and Richard told Mrs. Hanson it was the right thing to do. And he doesn't want to be like all the other people in Turtle Lake. Okay? So Mrs. Hanson was upset to announce Hannah's decision. Some students were happy, but Richard was shocked. So when Richard was shocked, Richard declined the role of the doughboy to support Hannah. So after school, Richard told Gus that he was invited to have dinner at the Shermers. Okay, so Richard went one step where he actually went for a dinner after that at the Shermers. And who are the Shermers? The Shermers are the Germans. Okay, that means Richard was going to have dinner with Hannah and her family. Okay, so Gus told Richard that people were calling him unpatriotic and a traitor for declining the role. So here, Brother Gus was actually telling Richard that people are already talking bad about Richard. Richard is unpatriotic, Richard is a traitor, that's what Gus told Richard. Okay, Gus told Richard that Pa will find out. Yeah, people talk. That's why Pa will find out about Richard. Okay, are you fine up till now? Are you okay? Or am I going very fast? Okay, Haras, I'm okay. Anybody else? Is everybody else okay? Good. If you're not okay, tell me, yeah? So if I'm going very fast, you tell me too, so that I can just slow. Alright? Okay, Pai Uzaini, okay, good. If I'm going very fast, Faik or Faiz or anybody else, please tell me so I can just slow down a bit, okay? Alright, one last slide before I go to something else. Can we go on? Alright, okay. Okay, just now I told you Richard went one step further. He went to the house where all the people in the house are not treated well by the people in Tertelek. He went to the dinner at the Shermers. Okay. If you see that everybody was treating the Shermers badly. Okay, everyone in Tertelek was treating the Shermers badly. Because they are of German descendant. Okay, they are German descendant. And what Richard find out in the family was totally different. Okay, the Shermers are from middle class family, and they actually like literature. That means they like poem. Take note. The Shermers like poem. They like history, and they like art. Okay, and Hannah's parents told Richard about their family and the stories of big cities that they have visited. The Shermers told Richard that he was always welcome to their house. You see, if you are knowledgeable, listen, if you are knowledgeable and you have good attitude and you are not, if you are good mannered, you will learn to accept people for what they are. That's what happening when Richard goes to Shermers, Hannah's family's home. Then he realized that the Shermers are actually a very good family. Okay, they're not farmers. They're not like the people in Tertelek. They don't do farming. But they actually are middle class family where they love history, arts, they play music, they listen to songs, and they read books. That's what's happening in the Shermers. Okay, so they are a different group of people, and they accept Richard. They accept Richard for what Richard is. Okay, take note. Richard feels very comfortable with the Shermers because why? Because everyone else doesn't treat Richard the proper way, but the Shermers accepted. They accepted Richard for what or who he is. Wouldn't you like it? If I were to be Richard, I will be happy to be with the Shermers compared to the other people. Okay, now I'm going to the next one, whereby, okay, these are the characters of Richard. Can you see this? It's a bit tiny. I hope everybody can. I'm going one by one, yeah? I'm going one by one with you. Okay, take note. Richard's characteristics. He is sensitive and soft-hearted. Sensitive and soft-hearted when he did not want to kill the deer. Okay, because he doesn't like to kill the deer. Is everybody with me? Richard is sensitive and soft-hearted. Okay. Next one, he is not afraid of being unique. Okay, what is the elaboration here? Richard is not afraid of being himself around other people. Even that, okay, can you please chat with me? Tell me, how is Richard different from the other people? How is he unique? So far, from the slides that I have shared with you, how, what is the event to show that Richard is a unique person? Give me examples. Where is he that he's different from other people? Where is it? To show that he is different. He loves poetry. Okay, what else? When other people do not like poetry, correct? What else? What are the events to show that he doesn't mind being different? Is everybody with me? He did not like hunting. Yes, good. He did not like hunting because he treats people nicely. Correct. He treats people nicely. He dislikes killing living things. Correct. He supports Hannah. Okay, what else? That's one thing that he did that everybody else did not do in the class. Come on. Something that he did where everybody else, he signed the card. Excellent. He signed the card. That shows just how brave he is, you know. Okay, and he doesn't mind being different from other people. Okay, he does not like causing a fuss. Okay, he's very accommodating. Okay, let's look at the explanation here. Even though Richard knows that he does twice the amount of work that Gus does, he doesn't mention it in order to avoid causing a fuss. Okay, now he doesn't complain when he does more work than Gus. Gus is the social type. Gus plays games. Gus is more popular and Richard is not. So Richard does more housework or more work at the farm compared to Gus, but Richard doesn't complain. Okay. Now Richard is a caring and compassionate. Okay. Richard helps his sister Angie with the housework, while Gus and Pa usually takes Angie's work for granted. Now Angie is Richard's sister. She does a lot of the housework, especially after Ma died. Ma passed away. So Richard always helps Angie at home, okay? Because Angie does most of the chores. Okay, fond or passion in writing poetry. Okay, he likes to write poetry. Richard enjoys writing poetry and keeps a collection of his own poetry in his drawer secretly. Yes, correct. This is the first part of the story, okay? Where nobody else knows he writes poem. Okay, Richard is kind. Richard decided to sign the card that Mrs. Hanson brought for the class to give to Hannah Shermers. Okay, so he's kind, very good. He's brave. Where Richard was confronted by Harry and Abner, he stood up for himself. Okay, and he continues to be friends. I like the second explanation here. Everybody take note. He continues to be friends with Hannah Shermers, even though I cannot use this. He continues, okay. He continues to be friends with Hannah Shermers, even though everyone else was against him. Okay, so you see that he doesn't mind being friends with Hannah, and he's diligent and hardworking. Okay, he's diligent and hard working. All right. So here, this is the traits, the characteristics of Richard Knight. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, I want everybody to look at this question. This is question, literature question for 2007. It is important to have a person you look up to in your life. Choose from the novel that you have read. Write about one character that you look up to. Give reasons why you choose him or her. Okay, now very quickly, I want everybody to choose one person and give me 3 reasons why you choose that person. What are the personalities of the person that you like? Choose one person that you look up to and give 3 reasons in the chat quickly. Choose one, only one, yeah? Choose one person and give 3 reasons why you choose that character. Okay, respond in the chat. I'm waiting. Okay, respond in the chat. So choose one person and give your reasons. Very good, kind, brave, and hardworking. Very good, Faiz. Excellent. Anyone else? In fact, if everybody can check in, it will be good. The character that I look up to is Richard because he does not give up easily. Okay. He does not give up easily. There's only one reason there, Madhuri? Is there any other reason? Richard, he doesn't like violence, he's very kind, and he's brave. Okay. Okay, good. Yes, Haras. Kind and brave. Excuse me, I cannot, when I put on my glasses, I cannot read properly. That's why I have to take it off. Richard Knight because he's a good student, hardworking, and courageous. Yes, I like your answer, Ika. Nobody likes Hannah? Nobody likes Hannah or nobody likes Gus? I choose Richard because he's kind-hearted person, brave and courageous. Okay, Faik? Richard is kind-hearted, Richard is brave and courageous. All right. Anyone else in the chat? No one else? Character like Hannah because she is a supportive friend and very kind. Okay. We're missing one more reason here, Huda. Shasha. Uh, we are missing two more reasons from you, Madhuri. He does not give up easily. There's only one. Three reasons. Okay. This is Huda. Huda teacher. Okay. Oh, sorry, Huda. Yes, Huda. All right. One more reason, Huda. All right. While waiting, let me just go to this one. Is everybody with me? Is everybody still okay? I know we are beyond the time of 1 hour. Okay. I'm okay, teacher. Good. All right. Let's look at this. Look at the question again. It's the same question like we had here. We are having here. Okay. This is the sample answer. Everybody take note. The novel that I read, you must mention. Listen, yeah, everybody. When you answer the literature question, you must mention the name of the novel. So here, Dear Mr. Kilmer by Anne Schraff. Okay, so take note. You must mention the name of the novel. One character that I look up to was Richard. Okay, Richard. You have the name Richard here. Answer Richard. There are three reasons why I looked up to Richard. Firstly, okay, three reasons. So what's the first reason? He loved animals. That is reason number one. Okay. How give the evidence? Okay, when you answer, you must give the evidence, correct? The evidence is here. This was shown when Richard purposely missed the bug. Purposely shooting a bug. So that's already the elaboration. Take note. You must give the name of the novel. Answer the question, one character. You have one character here, which is Richard. And then you look at this. Firstly, the first reason. He loved animal. And then this is first reason. How many reasons are you supposed to give? How many reasons? Can you respond to me? How many reasons are you supposed to give? Anyone? Before we continue? Three. Very good, Madhuri. Three reasons. Yes, Ika. Yes, Faik. Yes, I. Three reasons. So you have one reason here, and this is the he purposely missed shooting the bug. What do you call all this? Richard thought that hunting was not important. He could not kill animals. This is elaboration of this reason, of this evidence. Do you understand? You must elaborate. You give one reason here. Look, everybody look here. You give one reason here, and then you have got the evidence here. The important thing, the reasons here, the first reason here, and this is elaboration of why he missed the bug. And why he missed the bug. This is the elaboration. You must have elaboration. Okay, let's look at the second reason. Richard was kind. Take note. Richard was kind. So you have here. Richard was kind. And where is the evidence? Richard was the only student who signed the card for Hannah Shermas. That's the evidence. These are all elaborations. You must have elaborations for your evidence. Evidence, you must have evidence. Elaborations, you must have it too. So you have first reason, the evidence is here. Second reason, you have the evidence here. May I ask you, can you have one reason but many evidence? Can you have one reason and many evidence? You say no, but actually you can. Listen, you can have more evidence, but usually you don't have enough time. Don't spend so much time where then you don't have time for other questions. Okay? You can give more evidence if you have enough time. Remember, Your Mr. Kilmer is the last question in your paper 2. The very last question in your paper 2. If you have more time, you can give more evidence.